Are you deliberately trying to spoil my evening? Why do you want to do me harm? Why do you hate me so? I don't hate you. Did you ever used to make resolutions? Yeah. Like what? Smoking cigarettes. You quit that? Yeah. James Stewart kept this actress photo on his desk until he died. She was the woman who saved his career, who fought studios for him, who coached him every night in secret. But their story hit a scandal Hollywood buried. She was married to his best friend. She lived one block away from Stewart for years, and when she died mysteriously at 50, Stewart never spoke her name again in public. The truth about what really happened between them stayed hidden for decades. Margaret Brooks Sullivan was born on 16th of May, 1909 in Norfolk into a rich and powerful family. But her first years weren't filled with dances or laughter. She couldn't walk. Her legs were weak from birth. Doctors tried everything. They used stiff leg braces, electric treatments, even long hours in salty beach air, but nothing worked. She stayed in bed most of the time, lying on a couch in a dark nursery. It went on like that for almost 7 years. To pass time, she copied bird sounds. She listened to everything around her. Slowly, her senses sharpened. These were the skills that later made her famous on stage. When she finally stood up and walked on her own in March 1916, her father sent a message to Wall Street that said, "Margaret walked. Market can close up strong." When she could run, she didn't stop. While other rich kids were being trained to be proper ladies, Margaret was sliding down coal chutes and chasing trolleys. She played stickball with black and immigrant children on Brambleton Avenue. She arrived in a Pierce Arrow car, took off her shoes and hid them behind trash cans so she could run barefoot. When her mother invited other girls to a tea party in 1924, Margaret skipped it. She went to a boxing match instead and came back with a split lip. Her mother wrote in her diary that night, "She will not be received at Mrs. Ayres ever." In 1927, her parents planned a huge party for her at the Norfolk Yacht and Country Club. Flowers were flown from Hawaii. The Marine Band was coming from Washington, but Margaret had other plans. She sold her gowns to a vintage shop in Richmond and used the money to enroll at Sullens's College. It was a small women's college in Bristol with no ballroom and no glamour, but it had a tiny drama club. She studied acting and hosted candle-lit readings of Shaw and Ibsen in the attic. She even got in trouble for pretending to be men during the plays. In June 1929, she stood by the road with her thumb out and hitchhiked to Cape Cod. She wanted to audition for the University Players, a theater group that used a $12,000 wooden building near Old Silver Beach. She got a role. Her co-star was a 24-year-old named Henry Fonda. Jimmy Stewart, shy and quiet, showed up soon after to help build the sets. Everyone lived in tiny beach shacks, shared one bathroom, and ate clam chowder made from whatever they found in the sand. They were fined 25 cents for every missed line. That money bought kerosene for the lights. Those nights around the fire built friendships that lasted for decades. Sullivan pushed Stewart hard. She forced him to say his lines faster. He said she cured his stammer. Her Broadway debut came on 12th of January 1926. It wasn't a quiet, elegant play. It was a wild musical called Hello Lola. Margaret stood out right away. Critics called her a delinquent cherub. The show ran 47 nights, which was pretty good for the time, but in 1931 she took a big risk. She starred in a bold feminist play called A Modern Virgin. Her character talked about birth control in front of Wall Street men. Some people in the audience yelled harlot and the play shut down after 29 shows. Her parents left halfway through embarrassed, but director Frank Borge noticed her courage. Years later, he cast her in The Mortal Storm with Jimmy Stewart. Margaret arrived in Hollywood on 16th of May 1933, her 24th birthday. She went straight to Universal to watch the first cuts of her movie only yesterday. She hated what she saw. To her it looked fake. She thought her acting seemed stiff and her face looked older. She went to the studio and offered $20,500 to cancel her contract. That was more than most Americans made in a year. During the Great Depression, they said no. They had already spent more than that on her wardrobe and tests. Furious, she left the studio, packed her car, and bought a ticket back to New York. Someone from the studio stopped her at the airport. After a long talk, she agreed to stay, but only if she could approve the script and avoid long retakes. That was rare for a newcomer. Back then, studios trapped young actresses in 5-year deals. They paid $350 a week and controlled everything. Paramount and Columbia even offered her $1,000 a week. She said no. She wanted freedom. Instead, she signed a 3-year contract with Universal. She got $1,200 a week, only had to do 2 films per year, and could spend every summer acting in plays. In 1936, she used that deal to leave town and perform in stage door for 169 shows. When she came back, she made Next Time We Love. Lawyers hated her contract. Agents loved it. They copied it for other stars. Today, law books still mention it as one of the first contracts that gave power back to actors. Sullivan once said, "Acting in the movies is just like ditch digging." She meant it. She hated the slow pace, the heat, and the endless retakes. During only yesterday, she used a stopwatch to time how long it took between cut and action. For every minute of usable footage, she had to wait 37 minutes. She showed the numbers to the crew. Even after she was nominated for an Oscar for 3 comrades, she kept her apartment in New York. She said she would rather act in front of a live audience 120 times for $1,000 than fake one tear in front of a camera for twice that. Even MGM's powerful boss, Louis B. Mayer, couldn't control her. In 1938, he tried to force her into a role next to Clark Gable. She pointed to a clause in her contract and refused. Mayer lost his temper, slammed a folder on the table, and tried to scare her. She stayed calm. She said she'd leave Hollywood that same day and give up all her pay before she played a part she didn't like. His hand was shaking when he signed her release. The whole town heard about it. Variety ran a headline, "Sullivan plays hard ball with LB." Other stars started asking for more control, just like she had. It was a freezing night in late 1932. A few young actors huddled near a radiator behind a Broadway stage door. They had just finished rehearsing a small comedy play called Carrie Nation. Among them was a tall, awkward 23-year-old named James Stewart. He wasn't sure he belonged there. His voice trembled on stage. His lines didn't land. He quietly told the others that maybe he'd quit and go back to school to finish engineering at Princeton. But before he could finish the thought, Margaret Sullivan, just a year older, looked at him and said, "Jim, in 5 years you'll be Hollywood's biggest discovery. Remember I said it." Nobody laughed.